right, 8:35. No one yet. We were expecting a few people. Let's see. So we can go through some maintenance tips. If no one shows up, we can share screen and do the report, how to use the report and to its best. Alexis, did you have anything going on? Any questions this week that people are asking?
Not off the top of my head, I don't. I know normally when I call on Wednesdays, they don't normally. Well, maybe one thing you could touch on. Why when you have a stucco, like you have an inspection, why anything about stucco, maybe why we can't do it, or why you need to get a termite inspection with stucco on a home. Like,
Right. Well, there's two types of stucco. There's a real stucco and an artificial stucco. The real stucco is applied with 3 levels of concrete. They have a scratch coat, intermediary coat, I forget what it's called, and then the final coat. The final coat is where they decorate it and they put it on. Stucco is really designed for an application on top of concrete. So you would put ties in there so it your scratch coat actually hangs on to the concrete. So the stucco best application, and that's why you see them so many in Florida, is because a lot of the houses are block houses. It's a great finishing system for the concrete foundation, and you could put a nice decorative coating on there. The artificial stucco is really designed for above ground installation on top of the weather resistant barrier. So you've got this weather resistant barrier, you have your studs, and on top of your studs on the outside of the house, you have sheathing, and that kind of is a diagonal bracing, and it tightens up the house. Then you have ties and a screen that you put on, and you scratch, you attach. Then this is real stucco. Then they put a scratch coat, and then a middle coat. Sometimes it's only 2, but then they put the final coat on there, and the structure is the sheathing, but you have a weather resistant barrier between the sheathing and the real stucco. Now, if you scratch real stucco, it'll sound like you're scratching your driveway. It'll be a real low pitch and feel solid, and they flash it the same way you would flash any siding. You need the kick out flashing at the roof intersection. You need flashing over windows. You need control joints and so forth. Now, the artificial stucco is applied with ties also, and they put them in big panels, and it's styrofoam. So it goes on with styrofoam. You need flashing. Apparently, it's really difficult to flash properly. So you have this 1-inch barrier between the outside scratch, the outside finish coat on top of styrofoam. That's the EIFS. And it's like a coffee cup, a 1-inch coffee cup. Very, very good insulator. And EIFS actually stands for Exterior Insulating Finishing System, EIFS. So it is, generally speaking, it's a good siding. It is a great insulator. However, if water gets in, it doesn't want to come out. There's there's no way for it to naturally dry. So if water gets in there, it keeps the wood moist. And if it keeps the wood moist, it keeps a perfect condition for termites.
What
And the
about mold?
mold too. Yeah, yeah. But termites is the big scare with EIFS. And if that EIFS goes down into the ground, then you're um, that gives a highway to the termites.
Mm.
Termites get in, and if they have a moist situation, they'll thrive in there and hardly even have to go back down into the ground to get moisture. That's why there is that gap in between the siding and the ground, so you can see those termite tubes. There's no siding that is permitted by code to go down into the ground, except brick. Now, behind the brick is filled with concrete up to the foundation wall. So that is the idea on how they believe termites don't get through brick, but they do also. It's just an unfortunate thing. There's tiny cracks in brick sometimes, and they can get in. But if you were to take 2 coffee cups and dip the outside of one in water and then lift it up, the outside of that coffee cup is wet, and then you nest it into the other coffee cup, then you would have 2 coffee cups with just a little bit of water in between the coffee cups, styrofoam. And that water will sit there for a long, long time before it evaporates. It really has no chance to evaporate. It doesn't have any way to get out, and you're trapping the water. So if the EIFS is flashed properly and water doesn't get in, it's a fine siding. It has a bad stigma. A lot of people are scared of it just because you can't look at it and see if there's any water behind it. That's why a home inspector can't really do a true evaluation on a EIFS stucco house. Even a real stucco house can hide the damage behind it because it doesn't translate. There's no outward indicator of inward condition. So what you have to do is get an additional inspection where they use sensors and they get on a ladder and they inspect every square foot of the siding. It takes a long time, well outside of the scope of a regular home inspection. So when we do see EIFS or regular stucco, uh, you'll see any inspector take a little bit of extra time and look around the wood trim that's around the uh, windows and door areas, so you don't have any uh, damage, or that is the only area where you would have any outward indication of inward condition. So EIFS would be um, an additional inspection. Some people get another inspection on regular stucco also. And it's just a matter of the installation and the flashing, how good they put the flashing in. So you've had a call lately, Alexis, about the stucco?
I did. I had every Monday I just follow up with all of our past clients, see if they have any questions. And that was one thing that had come up in conversation.
Okay.
So,
Did they say they had another inspection done or are going to?
I didn't ask.
Okay.
I didn't ask. I called back. It was your client.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was interesting because I know we've talked about it before, and me not being an inspector, I learn the things as we go. So these help me out just as much as they help anybody else out. But it's interesting too because I know that the cement, like on the home, like if it has a basement and it's got stucco going down, it's off-putting water too, right? So that's
If,
uh,
what do you mean by off-putting water?
because cement has water in it. It
Mm.
would sweat, right?
It does, it dries out and it doesn't seal water. You need to seal the outside of the concrete to seal any water going in.
And that's something that should be done if they have a stucco put on their house.
Yeah, they usually they'll seal the concrete, then they'll put ties in the concrete and a screen, and then they stucco over that screen, and then they do the final coat on top of that.
Got it. That's what you just said. Okay, great.
Yep, yep.
Cool.
But if you want to see if it's artificial stucco, you can actually push on it, put some weight into it, and it'll move. If it's the foam, you'll see a little bit of movement. Or what I like to do, I just scratch it lightly with my fingernails.
Mhm.
And I said before, if you scratch it and it feels and sounds like you're scratching your driveway, then it's real stucco. If you scratch
Interesting.
and it sounds like a coffee cup, it will be an obvious difference. And you'll say, wow, it sounds like a coffee cup. Well, then it's the artificial stucco. It's just foam board behind it.
Cool.
Yep. So that is right at 15 minutes. So we'll leave it there and I'll title this one Stucco and EIFS.
Cool.
So yeah, good. All right. Richard Smith with Calibre Home Inspections, 25 years, engineer directed company, inspecting homes and protecting dreams. So looking forward to seeing you guys next week. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.